What's going on, everybody? Josh Callaway here alongside James D. Jackson with Sooners Illustrated and 24/7 Sports at Nippert Stadium in Cincinnati, Ohio, where Oklahoma is 4-0, the mark they couldn't quite get to a season ago. This time they've reached 4 games, 4 wins for the Sooners, all by double digits. James, obviously this game, 20-6 final, was competitive. By no means was this a blowout, but Oklahoma controlled it in the second half. And in what was a true road environment, this place was rocking. The Cincinnati students were on it. It was on fire in pregame, especially the first part of the game where Cincinnati was really in it. The Sooners found a way to get the job done.
This is what we expected. We expected a very big turnout for Cincinnati. It's the first year in the Big 12. I mean, why not? OU's in town. You got to have as many advantages as you can when you face a team that has, such historic success. But can I only talk about the defense in this one, man? Let's talk about the OU defense and the way they played. The defense overall was outstanding. No touchdowns given up in this game. We had 2 interceptions, one from Key Lawrence, one from Billy Bowman. I mean, outstanding. You couldn't ask for much more from the OU defense. I mean, just all around, they played great. They bent, didn't break. And truly, any time that you looked like Cincinnati was going to come back into this one, which the offense kind of let that to be on, but when they was kind of come back in this game, the defense stood up and they made a play. And that's all you can ask for with the Sooners team. And this is a defensive, a decent defensive identity team right now. It's not like they were of the last couple of years where the offense was the identity of the team.
Right.
When you come in, that's what you have to really prepare for. It's now the defense. It's a change in identity, but that's what you expect when Brent Venables came over.
Right.
And that's what's happening right now. The style points aren't all the way there just yet over these last, 2 or 3 games, but they're taking care of business. They're getting it done. Tulsa 66 points. That looked really good, but overall, when the tougher teams come into town, a little bit different.
For sure. No, I mean, this defense for Oklahoma, they give up 3 touchdowns in 4 games, and 34 total points. That's 8.5 points per game. If Oklahoma's going to allow 8.5 points per game, they're going to win a lot. You're going to win a lot of games giving up 8.5 points per game. Now, that's not going to probably be able to sustain the whole year, but so far through 4 games, they've been dynamite. They're tackling. They're making plays on the football. Today, they really got pressure on Emory Jones. He wasn't able to hurt them with his legs that much. That was a big concern coming in.
Yep.
He got loose a couple times, but for the most part, it was not really a factor. They did a great job in that area. Danny Stutzman continues to be a monster. That guy, Deshaun McCullough, said today in postgame, he's playing like a Buckets Award winner. Hard to argue.
Yeah.
He's balling right now, making plays in the backfield, got his hand on that tip ball on a 4th down conversion. He's absolutely everywhere. Jaren Kanak was really good in this game. Deshaun McCullough, his first game back, was really good in this game. I mean, the defense, James, just doesn't have holes. Reggie Pearson was out today. You thought maybe that might be a little bit, change the safety rotation a little bit. Didn't matter. Key Lawrence was fantastic. Billy Bowman was fantastic. Like you said, both guys had interceptions. Peyton Bowen got in there a couple times as well. The defense just doesn't have an obvious weakness right now. 6 points today against a Cincinnati team that's not going to blow you away with their offense, but they can move the ball. They can score points. They had a top 10 rushing offense in the country coming into this game. They moved it a little bit, but never got in the end zone. Yeah, James, like you said, defensively, there's just not a lot to complain about right now. 4 games, it's been really good.
Exactly, and they've talked about competitive depth throughout all season, and I think we're at the point where we can 100% believe them. That's the case now. That's what's happening. There's been injuries on this team. Some guys have been out, but players keep stepping up. I mean, we talked about Jaren Kanak. He went out later on in that game. Hopefully he's all right. Took a shot to the chest is what Brent Venables said. So we're waiting to see on what happens there. But, other people came in and stepped up, and it didn't like the defense dropped off too much with him out of there. So that's a good sign. Also with Justin Harrington, who's been dealing with his injury, Deshaun got back out there today and had a great day, statistically the second best tackler for them in this game. Right. I mean, just guys are able to come in and still produce plays, and that's what makes the defense so good right now, and that's what got the Sooners rolling. 4-0. 4-0.
Yeah, exactly. I believe it was, and don't quote me, I'm pretty sure this is right, 25 different players got a tackle today. And it's not like the Arkansas State game or the Tulsa game where it was a big blowout, you just played a bunch. This is a close game. 25 guys getting a tackle, that's a big number. And that's that competitive depth that Brent Venables and all these guys were talking about all offseason. It's been really good so far for Oklahoma defensively. Offensively, another weird game, kind of similar to SMU, where there's moments of just dominance. That drive, whenever they cut it to 10-6 and they just running down the field, moving the chains. Gabriel's doing some running. Marcus Major's running. They're hitting. Angelo Anthony, another monster day for him. He's been so good so far this season. But there was other stretches. I mean, they ended up with 20 points. There was other stretches in this game where they really struggled. Now, we talked about it in the podcast leading up to this game. Cincinnati's defensive front is legitimately very good. One of the better ones they'll play all season. Where you temperature check on the offense, I get right now for Oklahoma for you, James, because again, there's been moments of where it's like, okay, that looks like what we thought. And there's other times where it's, kind of just they go over for about a quarter or so where it's like, they really didn't have any big plays, they didn't put up any points. It's kind of a little uneven still right now through 4 games.
I'm not sure if it's the offense getting complacent at times because they always seem to respond when
they really needed it. Yeah.
So they trail for the first time of the season today, 3-0 lead for Cincinnati, and the offense goes down and scores. Then they kind of cut it closer to 10-6, and the offense finds their rhythm and goes down and scores. It was the same way with SMU. The offense, when they needed the most, they came down and scored. So it's like I'm not sure what it is at the moment, but when they need it, they get it. And I guess that's you can ask for more than that, but right now that's all they need right now with the way the defense is playing. So shout out to the offense for handling those tough moments and really getting through with all the leadership that Dylan Gabriel brings on the field and what he's done. I mean, he threw for 322 yards today. It always seems like he's not like having the greatest of games, and you look down the stat sheet and it's like, man, wow, he had a great game. It's just I think the bar was just set so high from the previous quarterbacks that have come through Oklahoma. Maybe we're just not seeing it as everybody else should be seeing it, just like that. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, we're a third of the way through the season now, so you can start to draw some legitimate conclusions, and a third of the way through, and we're still wondering when the running game is going to really get going. We went back to no Javonte Barnes, no Gavin Sawchuk again today. I don't know. It was a lot of Marcus Major today, and he was okay. He was, fine. Had that one really great drive that I referenced a minute ago. I continue to kind of wonder the running game. It hasn't caught up to Oklahoma yet because the defense has been really good, and like we said a few times, the passing offense has been pretty elite. These receivers are making plays. That might catch up to them at some point, and that's something we'll probably get more into the weeds on the podcast on Monday with Tom. But yeah, the run game continues to be a little spotty, a little hit or miss. That's kind of been the feel every single week, and it was more of the same today. I'm starting to get a little concerned about the running game right now for Oklahoma. You're going to need that, and that hasn't been there reliably through 4 games.
Yeah, I think we actually saw a counterplay today. I know I was calling for it on the podcast, and I think it worked out pretty well for the OU. So that's good. I mean, they're making some adjustments here and there, and we saw it on the drive. Like you said, when they really needed it, we saw that they can have the willpower to get it done. So they just got to put it together, over and over consistently. That's what it's come down to so far. Just not getting it consistently. They've made big plays. I mean, OU had their back against the goal line on one of the drives, and Marcus Major goes off for a 18-yard run.
It was like 3rd and 20 almost.
Yeah, and you get them out of get them back to good field position. So I mean, they know how to do it. They can do it. We've seen it in spurts. Just got to put it together overall. I'm not too sure why it's not working over, but for right now, we got to just take what we can see.
Yeah, for sure. And like we said, Cincinnati does have one of the better fronts. Dante Corleone was making things happen early in this game, but Oklahoma did what they needed to, like James said. Chips were down 3-0, and when Cincinnati cut it to 10-6, came through with the 2 biggest drives, I guess of the season, at least certainly the 2 biggest drives of today's game, to push this thing out a little bit. And once they got up 17-6, it really felt over because Oklahoma's defense, it just was hard to imagine a world where Cincinnati got in the end zone really at all, but especially a couple of times. So that's credit to what OU's doing defensively right now. It's good stuff. Also, first time no Jackson Arnold. He never got in this game. The Arnold package has been well documented. It's been kind of weird. Didn't see it at all today, so that'll be something to kind of monitor moving forward. If that was just a matchup thing, of being on the road, a true road game for the first time, we'll see how that goes as we go along. But no Jackson Arnold today either. So, James, Iowa State's next week. You're back at home. Iowa State has not been good. Obviously, we don't know what they're going to do today against Oklahoma State as we record this right now.
Yep.
But they lost Ohio last week. Their offense has really struggled. Oklahoma should be pretty sizable favorites going into that one back at home next week. How do you feel about things? Obviously, this was the biggest test so far, in my opinion. Not necessarily because Cincinnati's better than SMU, but it's a road game. Like we said, this place was rocking. Their students were over that end zone, and they were loud. This place was really into it, even into the second half, but especially early. And Oklahoma answered the call. You got to feel pretty good, I think, if you're an OU fan. You're not going to really play a lot of games on the schedule that are much tougher than this one, quite frankly. I think you got to feel pretty good about things right now.
Yeah, that's what we said before the season even started. It's an easier schedule than OU's used to. So, having that on there is a good sign for OU that they've pulled through these games that they needed to pull through. They've blown out some teams, and they've won closely against others. I mean, they covered the spread each time, so they've done what everybody's expecting them to do, I guess, when you look at it nationally and all that, everything like that. But going on to Iowa State, who's going to be in the receiver group again? I mean, because Nick Anderson kind of went out after his
he got
touchdown.
a little banged up.
I'm not sure what it was, but he was on the bike for most of the game, just riding, trying to stay loose, trying to stay warm. Hopefully it's not too bad since he was able to still move around and things like that. But want to see what's going to happen there, because we talked about the run game, but the pass game is this team's offensive strength. That's the strength that they have. So they need every guy to be available, and that they want to accomplish what they want to accomplish, which is get back to the Big 12 title game and win that game.
Yeah, 100%. Today, actually, I think it closed at 14. So today was a push, actually, I believe. So they didn't quite cover today, but it was a push for Oklahoma at Cincinnati. Great defensive effort. Offense got it done when it needed to. And another multi-score win for Oklahoma. They're 4-0. And like we said, back home next week for the Iowa State Cyclones. And then Texas, a couple weeks. We're one step closer to Oklahoma being picture perfect going into that game. We'll talk about that when we get there. One more game to go, but another step closer today for Oklahoma as they win it 20-6 at Nippert Stadium in Cincinnati. Again, subscribe, Oklahoma247sports.com, and to the Sooners Illustrated YouTube channel for full reaction from us, Tom Green, Colin Kennedy, as well as Brent Venables, and a slew of OU players who we caught up with after the game. That's all going to be on the YouTube channel. And, of course, reaction, further game stories, things like that is on the site, Oklahoma.247sports.com. That's it for now. We're back home next week. We'll see you then. For James Jackson, I'm Josh Callaway signing off from Cincinnati and Nippert Stadium.